safe streets, vibrant neighborhoods, successful business and commerce. These are things that make a healthy community. We are a diverse community, rural, suburban, urban, a multitude of languages and ethnicities, ages and experiences. We are a collaborative community. Public-private partnerships make us a model community that others want to follow. It is what makes us unique. It is what makes us strong. The employees of Kent County reflect our diversity and seek to serve our communities.
People in this county, in this area, we wrap our arms around each other. We come together to collaborate, to solve problems. We're all working for the good of the whole. And I think that's wonderful. And you can see it. You can see it as you drive around Kent County.
Our impact starts the day a baby is born and a birth certificate is issued, to protecting children from deadly diseases through vaccination, to the public safety and justice provided by law enforcement and the courts, to offering veteran services and caring for the elderly. Every day we work to keep our communities robust.
I think if you are somebody who's interested in serving your community, in building a strong knowledge base and a good group of people to work with, then the county is one of your best employment opportunities out there. It's been completely rewarding in every way I could possibly explain for 26 years, and I feel like I grow every single day still today.
Leading these dedicated employees are 19-member Board of Commissioners and our County Administrator Controller, along with our elected officials and appointed department directors, placing emphasis on civic involvement, quality housing, vibrant neighborhoods, and strong, solid infrastructure to allow businesses to thrive. Professional, dedicated, collaborative, and innovative.
Behind the scenes, collaboration between foundations, charitable organizations, nonprofits, for-profit businesses, public sector demonstrated through the county, the city of Grand Rapids, the townships, all the cities and the villages in our area. If we don't come together, then we will not have the strength that we have today, and I only hope to build upon that.
Our aim is to make our communities the best they can be. We are involved in exciting development projects, sustainable recycling programs, and creative progressive prevention programming. We partner with elected officials, impacting policy ideas that become great achievements. We seek opportunities to reach out into the community and offer our services to help our residents make Kent County thrive.
Our relationship is solid, both from a staff standpoint at the county level as well as the Board of Commissioners. And they understand what we do and the benefits that we can do for the community, and vice versa. We couldn't do what we do without the help of Kent County.
While most of us are busy running our lives, Kent County's elected officials, administrator controller, and over 1,600 employees are serving the communities where we live our lives, so we can all have a place we are proud to call home. Kent County, its life well run.
Good morning. If we could have everybody find their seats and so we can get started. I'm going to call the meeting to order for Thursday, September 12th. Madam Clerk, can we call the roll?
Commissioners Wooden.
Here.
Womack.
Here.
Voorhees.
Present.
Long.
Here.
Gallen.
Here.
Vice Chair Steck.
He's here.
Commissioner Sparks. Skaggs.
Here.
Saalfeld.
Here.
Ponstein.
Here.
Morgan.
Here.
Melton.
Here.
Kallman.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Hennessy.
He's here.
Bulkowski.
Present.
Breivy.
Here.
Antor. Chair Bolter.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have 17 members present, 2 absent. You have a quorum.
Wonderful, thank you. We're on to item 3, invocation. Calling Commissioner Melton.
Good morning. Before I get started with the invocation, I would invite all of us, please, to pray for a commissioner who had surgery yesterday. So if you would join me, please, we'll just lift her up in prayer. Father God, we pray for Commissioner Sparks. We pray for healing. Father, we pray that you are with each and every one of the doctors, nurses, and persons who come into her life during her hospitalization, that they will use the knowledge and the talents that you have provided them to help with her care, to keep her well, that her recovery period will be just that, a recovery period and not one of crisis or anything else. Please let her know right now at this moment that we are with her, that we are grateful for what she has brought to our commission board, and that we just absolutely, through our prayers and our petitions to you, hope for wonderful and great things for her recovery. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Nope, that was just the beginning.
Sorry. More prayer. It's a double dose today.
18 years ago, our nation, as of today, was in a state of confusion, mourning, shock, disbelief, and anger. We were reeling following attacks on the World Trade Centers and the Pentagon from the day before. Yet, as shocked and angry a people we were, our deep emotional love for our country emerged strongly, and our nation connected together with patriotism, setting aside differences. When we build on our commonality, we can accomplish great things. A senator from Tennessee said, "September 11 is one of our worst days, but it brought out the best in all of us. It unified us as a country and showed our charitable instincts and reminded us what we stood for and stand for." As president, at one of the memorial services, Barack Obama was quoted as saying, "Even the smallest act of service, the simplest act of kindness, is a way to honor those we lost, a way to reclaim that spirit of unity that followed 9/11. But probably the best words, in my opinion, of all that were quoted come from Adam Maybloom, a World Trade survivor. Today, the images that people around the world equate with power and democracy are gone. But America is not an image. It is a concept. That concept is only strengthened by our pulling ourselves together as a team. As commissioners, we all share a commonality of being servant leaders to our constituents and to our country as a whole. We are strengthened when we choose to pull ourselves together as a team. Join me in prayer, please. Father God, I thank you for your faithfulness during times of crisis and for bringing each of us commissioners here to serve. I call upon you to guide each of us, each of our decisions, and to help us to choose our words that will build up each other and build us in a commonality that will cause us to accomplish great things for all who live in our county. We know that we can accomplish great things through you. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Melton. On to item 5, special order of business. I'll call on Deb Eldering and Lieutenant Lou Hunt.
Good morning. I'm Deb Aldrink, as she just said, and I'm accompanied today by Lieutenant Hunt. He's our emergency manager for Kent County. And I'm happy to present the 2018. 2018 kind of slipped by, so I didn't present in 2018, but 2018 and 2019 to date, LAPC activities. So our membership has just expanded greatly in the last year and a half. I think a lot of people have assistants now so that they're able to participate in community. So I'm not going to go through all the names, but you can see that all of our community that's responsible for planning are well represented on this committee, and they're all very dedicated people. And because of these people and their inputs, our plans are very thorough and comprehensive and practical. So these are what our plans look like. We actually revised about 220 plans last year, which is our main mission. We did 14 brand-new plans. Kent County had 10 and Grand Rapids had 4. So these plans are all stored in a cloud so that each jurisdiction can get a hold of them. And we do that on purpose because as people write their Tier 2s, which go to us, a lot of times they don't know which fire department they're in. If they have a Grand Rapids address, for instance, they might be in Grand Rapids Township. So this way, all jurisdictions, in case they have mutual aid, can access this information. So it's on the web. They all have access to it. We were using thumb drives, and that just didn't work real well, so now they can get real-time information. Also, these plans are in dispatch at Kent County. The dispatchers do have access to them, and they can record or provide that information at the time of the incident. Tier 2s were changed in 2017. That caused a lot of confusion, but I think we're up to date. We've had 3 releases last year. 2 of them were from Country Fresh back to back, and then one was UPS with chloroform. They had something go through their hub. So we present free seminars each year around November. Amway gives us a beautiful room, and in 2018 we had all hazards incident management behind the scenes of a 911 call. We had 110 people show up and stayed for the whole 6 hours. And so that's our new fire chief in Granville. The dispatchers from Kent County were speakers. It was wonderful who participated. Anyway, we're able to do this because we get a breakfast and lunch from Gordon Foods, Roscan Baking, Univar. They have door prizes. All of our handouts are provided from different industries, so people are willing to fund these seminars. Then we have a plan review subcommittee, which has actually been contracted out, and that way we have a very good computer-aided design for the vulnerable zones. Our public information subcommittee, we just revised all of our subcommittees, and so we have a website. They are working with being a liaison with area media outlets. They provide talking points to local news organizations during Chemical Awareness Week and National Preparedness Month. We have a transportation subcommittee, which is the main group behind mass transit in the county, so that if we have to do mass evacuations, the different busing companies have come together and formed a very strong plan for this, and so we use them in our exercises as well. In our exercise design subcommittee, we've done 2 tabletops in the last 2 years. We stopped doing some functionals for a while. We were doing those almost solely for the county, but we're taking respect of the paid-on-call departments as we rotated jurisdictions for the cost and the time that it would take. So the tabletops, we did one at Haviland on September 18th. We simulated a release of nitric acid. Haviland had their entire response team there. This would be the vulnerable zone, so of course Grand Rapids Fire, Grand Rapids Police participated heavily in this because of you can see the evacuation that would be, the logistics of getting all these people out and into shelters. And I listed them all. These are all the schools and the churches. So if this were to happen on a Sunday, it would be a logistics nightmare for our first responders. You can see all the Baptist churches, all the churches, the hospitals, the nursing homes. Then we did another one, May 15th, at Roscan Baking Company, and we simulated anhydrous ammonia. Again, Roscan management team was there. I've got pictures of that. So we took their plan, because the responsibility for us is we have to rehearse a plan every year. So we try, like I said, we try and rotate jurisdictions. So Kentwood Fire was this one, and as you can see, we had great participation with road patrol, with first responders, with the team itself. So this was the scenario. We had a truck go into the receiver, and then I went ahead and modeled where it would take. They were looking at this going, this takes out our entire corporate office, so that they all of a sudden had to come up with their new shelter-in-place plan. So they came away with some really good takeaways, and they were really happy to participate. We're still working with the Citizens Core Council. That's kind of been brought down, and now it's being brought back up again. We've got some different leadership. And they oversee the activities of the Citizens Emergency Response Team, the Medical Reserve Corps, the Neighborhood Watch, Volunteers in Policing, and Fire Corps programs. Kent County is now working on the organization of these volunteers with our new emergency management. They are starting to report some of their activities. The Medical Reserve Corps is working with the County Health Department and the American Red Cross on how the MRC volunteer reception centers and how the MRC Health Department and American Red Cross can all work together. The Medical Response, the Reserve Corps has been teaching CPR and first aid. They were awarded their 501c3 status. They also have been teaching advanced wilderness life support, and they assist other counties, not just Kent, with events such as races, proper child care, seat placement, and fingerprinting. We have a website. It's Access Kent, and our Public Information Subcommittee keeps that active. So our work plan for 2019 to date, we've only got one meeting left for the year, but all of our plans have been submitted to the state. They've all been accepted. We just revised 3 or 4 more and just sent them in, and we just had acknowledgement this morning that they were well received. We're assisting the Eagle in helping with Tier 2 new requirements. There's changes in the Tier 2, so we help our constituents with how to fill those out properly. And we're continuing our efforts for education of all first responders that these plans exist and that they should use these plans, that they've all been tried and true. We continue our outreach efforts to special functional needs. I think with the evacuation of a nursing home last year, our groups came together and we talked about the logistics of evacuating that kind of a population. We provide updated information to local responding agency, and we continue to work with the railroads in our transportation subcommittee. We are planning and designing another exercise for 2020. We usually try and do that the first week of May. Our community awareness, we keep our community leaders informed about LEPC activities, plan activities for Chemical Awareness Week, excuse me, continue to update and expand community right to know and public awareness programs, and continue to try and recruit agricultural representatives. We've had a difficult time, especially during growing season. We distribute our information, and our information, we work with the health department, and we have some brochures and some videos that we hand out as far as training. We coordinate citizen preparedness efforts with current emergency management preparedness projects. An example is to produce a video with Kent County Health Department regarding sheltering in place and how to do that properly. Our website currently has safety for everyone, hazardous chemicals in our community, safety in a chemical emergency, frequently asked questions, the history of the LEPC, and our meeting schedules, and we do have quite a bit of response from that meeting schedule being posted. And then, of course, our industry outreach, we continue our outreach seminar, and that literally is planned the day after we have our plan, our November 1st one. So we will meet right after that. We will look at evaluations, and then we'll go ahead and start planning for next year's as well. Our LEPC Executive Subcommittee, we continually look at our bylaws. We maintain our grant, and we research additional partners and sources of funding for LEPC activities. Our bylaws continue to be reviewed and updated as necessary. We met in 2018, and we updated our bylaws at the time.
I think you'll now hold the record for going through 22 pages as fast as possible.
At 34 slides, 10 minutes.
Good job. Questions for Deb or Lou today? Commissioner Ponstein.
Thank you, Chair Bolter. So a few years back, we decided that the best way to do emergency management would be to combine our service city of Grand Rapids and have a shared service. We heard at a meeting this past week that we're going to be moving everything back in-house. I didn't see any mention of Grand Rapids. So where do we stand now as a collaborative effort with the city of Grand Rapids? Are they on their own now? Are we on our own? Are we working together? How are the funds commingled?
For LEPC?
For both.
Okay, for the LEPC, we did update all their plans as just part of the contract. And so they are a representative on our committee. They have Jason Kelly, who's their hazmat planner, is a voting member of the LEPC. So we updated all their plans. We wrote up their new plans. And then as far as emergency management goes.
So for the LEPC, it crosses over both boundaries. And then right now for emergency management, we have 2 independent emergency management programs in our county. One being the County of Kent and the other one being the City of Grand Rapids. But we work together all the time. I was on a conference call with them this morning at 5:30 a.m. In regards to what happened last night. So we're working together on a regular basis. They have a new emergency manager that they are hiring September 23rd, and we've already reached out to make sure that we're the first people that get to work with that.
So if they're hiring someone, they're going to be separate once again?
They are separate right now, but yes, they are hiring a new person as well.
Okay, so seeing that you brought it up, when I hear these reports about emergency planning, it's always a plane crashes or there's a big chemical spill. But to the average person, what happened last night is far more could affect them than any of those other scenarios. For instance, the path of this storm was through a high retail part of town. You had movie theaters, malls, big box stores. People are in those stores, they get 10 alerts saying that there's a tornado, cover, get protection right now. You've got radio stations and TV stations all over the board. And then after things settle down, you see just this, I don't want to call it hodgepodge, but I don't know what else to call it. You got people in pickup trucks cutting trees down, clearing them, with no idea whether there's a power line down. You've got TV reporters out there saying, stay away from power lines, yet their camera is focused on a power line just over there. And putting, you know, it just seems to be everyday events that I think are far more likely to impact this county and the cities and townships and villages, is that I'm not impressed with what I see. And I think there's a better way to do it before something really happens that could have been prevented. Is that a fair assessment, or I'm way off base?
I can tell you that we train for all hazards, so that is what we do on a regular basis. There is no doubt that in the national media, a lot of those things that you're referring to get a lot of the priority. But I think for us, we recognize in Kent County that truly what we would deal with on a regular basis is going to be weather. Obviously, we saw that last week.
So we've also got intergovernmental agreements between the fire departments. In an event last night where it's centered on a specific part of the county, was there any help called in to control maybe the people out there with just cutting trees down, going down roads? I even saw on one news report where a guy had a bulldozer. I mean, is that something we want, you know, the public doing? And I appreciate the kindness of people and the willingness to support that, but it just seems there needs to be a little bit more organization.
Where we make that differentiation would be if there's wires there or not. If there's wires there, then it becomes a completely separate issue. In fact, Consumers Power has their own forestry group that comes to deal with those, and that's the way that they do it each and every time. For the general people that have trees down in their yard, that kind of thing, you know, obviously a lot of those people are going to be addressing that. I did not see the piece with the bulldozer. That's probably an extreme, not really what we're looking for.
Commissioner Talon.
Thank you, Chair. You noted perhaps a record for speediness in the presentation this morning. I'd also like to note the possibility of a record for longevity, the leadership of Deb. This is one incredibly dedicated citizen. When I was on the LEPC in the 1990s, Deb Aldrink was the chair. And much to my surprise, when I was reappointed back in the teens, Deb Aldrink was the chair. She's done an amazing job. We're fortunate to have someone with that level of dedication leading that effort. And I want to thank her for an incredible service.
Any questions? Nope, that's it. Okay. Commissioner Bukowski.
Thank you, Chair. I want to echo thanks and add it for your continued commitment for engaging people with disabilities on this planning. I know Pat Draper at the Health Department is just out there doing education and engaging folks, and my friends Heidi DeVries and Tammy Yeomans with Kent Rick again, you're not doing for, you're doing with. So thank you, and keep up the great work.
Commissioner Womack.
Thank you very much for your service and work, and just very happy with the annual report. It seems yesterday also showed our quintessential need to merge our online RSS feeds for these emergency broadcasts, because what happens is with cable having 100 different channels, and with our social media, a lot of people being on their computers back and forth in social media, we don't just have, like back in the day, the 3 local channels and the RSS feed reads tornado watch, storm warnings, winter advisory. Is there anything the IP department is working on, or anything you know that we're doing to reach this new generation that a lot of times is in social media, so they can be warned about these emergencies that might come up?
So for us, one of the things is that, like, the National Weather Service is always going to be able to beat us because they're our subject matter expert, and we really do rely on them to have that information, and then we react to that quickly to do our outdoor warning sirens.
Another thing is, there's always been a need for more law enforcement, and then it usually comes under debates within the 6 cities, or even sometime at the county when it comes to sheriff department for law enforcement. But when we have an emergency, like last night, do you see a need for more law enforcement, or was there enough to handle? Just like he mentioned the bulldozer, somebody wants to help out with a bulldozer. So we not only have the weather, we have people who are trying to help that can endanger themselves and others. So are we adequately staffed for emergencies?
I think the answer would be we could always use more law enforcement. I think that's certainly the right answer, and it's one that I feel strongly about as well. We could always use more people to deploy in those situations.
Okay, thank you for your service, Lieutenant.
Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Chair. I have more of a comment that it is a critical component, I think, of our community to have this in place, because we do need leading, educating, and preparing communities. And when you look at a scenario that is a training exercise, not only is it training for that chemical spill, but you could have a scenario, it could be a tornado, it could be a natural disaster that takes out that same area and causes the issue. So it has multiple layers to it, along with thinking along the lines of pieces that it's good to have that practice before it actually happens. We have trains that come through Kent County. Those trains can be carrying significant hazardous material. And that does happen, where there's challenges and incidences that happen when trains come through and then they don't maybe make it to their final destination. So I am glad that you have this focus, that you get our communities together to continue to have that attention in that area. So thank you for your hard work.
Any other questions or comments today? Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Chair. I have just 2 actually more relatively new guy questions. One, could someone explain what SARA means as an acronym? That evaluates SARA plan?
It's the Superfund Amendment Reauthorization Act, and
Thank
we're
you.
at Title III, which is the community right to know.
Perfect. And then my other question, since it appears LEPC's large focus is hazardous waste, or it's not?
Hazardous chemicals.
Hazardous chemicals.
Hazardous substances.
Forgive me for my mistake. What it would be the emergency plan for something like a cyber attack? We've had conversations about, not necessarily that we're cyber vulnerable, but communities in general have been having conversations about cyber vulnerability. And as I was driving through Grand Rapids and noticing many of my neighbors' lights were on, but my street lights were not, I was wondering, that made me think of not necessarily that this instance was one, but the generality of cyber vulnerability. Could you speak to that, please?
So in Kent County, we're actually pretty fortunate because we have a cybersecurity consortium that's been in existence now for a number of years. A lot of meetings regarding those very issues, and it culminates once a year with a very large workshop. And I think the cybersecurity consortium has about 700 people that are involved from all walks of life and businesses and things like that. And it's grown outside of Kent County. There's even members all the way down into Indiana, so I think we're kind of forging new ground with that. And I would say that's probably true. We're forging new ground because it's one of those things that is kind of hard to wrap your arms around.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you so much for your service. Thank you for presentation. On to item 6, public comment. We'll remind everyone this is kind of new. This is the first public comment related to agenda items. So any public comment for agenda items today? Our current agenda? All right, seeing none, on to item 7, consent agenda, and I'll call on Commissioner Melton.
Thank you, Chair. I move to adopt the consent agenda for today's date.
Moved by Commissioner Melton, support by Commissioner Morgan. Questions or comments on the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, this is a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the motion to adopt the consent agenda, Commissioners Wooden,
Yes.
Womack,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Vonk,
Yes.
Talon,
Yes.
Vice Chair Steck,
Yes.
Commissioner Sparks, Skaggs,
Yes.
Salfeld,
Yes.
Ponstein,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Melton,
Yes.
Kallman,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Hennessy,
Yes.
Bulkowski, Breeby,
Yes.
Antor, Chair Bolter.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 17 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. The consent agenda is adopted.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. On to item 8, resolutions, and I'll call on Commissioner Womack for Resolution A.
I'd like to make a motion to move Resolution 9/12/1976, indigent defense appropriations.
Moved by Commissioner Womack, support by Commissioner Breeby. Questions or comments on Resolution A? Seeing none, this is a roll call. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the motion to adopt Resolution 9/12/1976, Commissioners Wooden,
Yes.
Womack,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Vonk,
Yes.
Talon,
Yes.
Vice Chair Steck,
Yes.
Commissioner Sparks, Skaggs,
Yes.
Salfeld,
Yes.
Ponstein,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Melton,
Yes.
Kallman,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Hennessy,
Yes.
Bulkowski,
Yes.
Breeby,
Yes.
Antor, Chair Bolter.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 17 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. Resolution 9/12/1976 is adopted.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. On to Resolution 8B, and I'll call in again Commissioner Womack.
I'd like to move Resolution 9/12/1977, Ready by 5 early childhood millage allocations for 2019.
Moved by Commissioner Womack.
Second.
Support by Commissioner Skaggs. Questions or comments on this resolution? Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I first want to commend the work of the First Steps Kent committee that reviewed these proposals, especially Commissioner Skaggs and Sparks for their hard work on this, and also just commend when we reviewed this in Finance Committee, we saw the hard work that had been put into this and the trusted partners that will be receiving this investment, groups like HealthNet, KISD. I was especially excited to see that Family Promise would be receiving an allocation, and that purely because, as we know, family homelessness is a determinant towards children's health and education outcomes. So I was appreciated that we are looking at this in a broad but targeted way. Thanks again for the work, and excited to be voting in the affirmative.
Great. Commissioner Bulkowski.
Thank you, Chair. I want to go further back in history for my thanks to risk embarrassing my friend Kate Walters and Lou Chamberlain, who've been the chairs for this for too many years, and that it's awesome that we're at the brink of moving this voter-approved dollars out to help the kids of our county. Because again, through those years, not only did they have to go through their own committee work and all of that, sometimes our public partnerships aren't as fun in private, I'll leave it there. But through all of that, had to get through us, the commission, to be put on the ballot, had to get voter approval, which they handily did, and then of course getting through administration and the contract nuts and bolts. All of these are hugely daunting tasks, and we don't want to simply go through with a, again, as Commissioner Wooden referred to, this went through committee and all of that, and so when we get to our full commission meetings, sometimes our motions are barely a yay and we move on. So again, huge thank you for so much work, and of course the real hard work begins now. You who are going to accept these resources to help our children and our families move forward. So thank you so much, and yeah, I look forward to awesome reports and getting the rest of the dollars out on the streets and into our homes.
Great. Commissioner Skaggs.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I echo those thanks from Commissioner Bulkowski, and won't belabor by saying them again, so thank you. Certainly thank you to the voters for approving this. And to get a little bit more specific about what happens with these allocations and the decisions made to go there, certainly thank you to the First Step staff. We had long, thick binders of proposals, shorter presentations, questions and answers when we met over the course of a day and a half, some significant deliberations, some quality staff support to make sure that we had the information that we needed to make the best decisions that we could, and then reached a very strong consensus on what made the most sense to move in this first bundle, dealing with general navigation, which has long been seen as an area where we could do a tremendous amount of improvement to help new families move into the proper programmatic system by being navigated to there so that they could get the help that they needed so that we could get the outcomes that we're hoping to get. So, if this goes forward, I'd be happy to answer any additional questions, but just wanted to let everyone know, since as we all know, unfortunately, Commissioner Sparks is not with us, that I'm very thankful. I think there is still some work to do to iron out some kinks in our system, but I think that we reached a very strong and, like I said, consensus opinion on where these funds should go. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Talon.
Thank you, Chair. I'm also very appreciative of the millage and the work done by the committee. I also have one significant concern about one of the allocations, and particularly a portion of it that relates to developmental screening. That's an area that I spent quite a few years working and immersed pretty deeply in, and I've had some fairly intense conversations with county staff about that. Hope to have some additional conversations with First Step staff about that, and hopefully we'll be able to work through some of those concerns, but wanted to raise them here so you are aware of it. Happy to talk to others about it afterward. Thank you.
Commissioner Steck.
Thank you, Chair. I also want to join in thanking everybody who was involved in this at multiple stages. This was the culmination of an awful long journey through multiple stages. It is no surprise that this initiative has not had unanimous approval around this board. There have been those that have been concerned about whether or not it is effective, whether or not it is going to have the difference or make the difference that it promises. Clearly, the prevailing wisdom is that it will, and it is worth proceeding with. And so I think as a commission, we all look forward to this programming having the effect, making the differences that it promises to do, and we look forward to seeing the reports back. So, thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this resolution? I just have one. Obviously I echo Commissioner Steck's comments, but I feel like we have some very capable people around this entire effort. So, including our two commissioners that serve on this committee and kind of the entire community. So I really look forward to the outcomes and seeing the data and seeing that data collection. So thank you so much. Seeing no more questions, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the motion to adopt Resolution 912-1977, Commissioners Wooden.
Yes.
Womack.
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Bonk.
Yes.
Talon.
Yes.
Vice Chair Steck.
Yes.
Commissioners Sparks. Skaggs.
Yes.
Salfeld.
Yes.
Ponstein.
Yes.
Morgan.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Hennessy.
Yes.
Bulkowski.
Yes.
Breeby.
Yes.
Antor. Chair Bolter.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 17 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. Resolution 912-1977 is adopted.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. On to item 8C, resolutions. I'll call on Commissioner Breeby.
Thank you, Chair Bolter. I would like to move Resolution 78 of today's date, Chief Hazy Cloud purchase modification from the Parks Department.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Breve, support by Commissioner Jones. Questions or comments on this resolution? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the motion to adopt Resolution 912-1978, Commissioners Wooden,
Yes.
Womack,
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Vonk,
Yes.
Talon,
Yes.
Vice Chair Steck,
Yes.
Commissioner Sparks, Skaggs,
Yes.
Salfeld,
Yes.
Ponstein,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Melton,
Yes.
Coleman,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Hennessy,
Yes.
Bulkowski,
Yes.
Breve,
Yes.
Antor, Chair Bolter.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 17 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. Resolution 912-1978 is adopted.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. On to item 8D, and I'll call on Commissioner Voorhees.
Thank you, Chair Bolter. I would move resolution number 79 of today's date. It's the State of Michigan Secondary Road Patrol Grant for our Sheriff's Department.
Moved by Commissioner Voorhees, support by Commissioner Morgan. Questions, comments on this resolution? All right, seeing none, this is a roll call. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the motion to adopt Resolution 912-1979, Commissioners Wooden,
Yes.
Womack,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Vonk,
Yes.
Talon,
Yes.
Vice Chair Steck,
Yes.
Commissioner Sparks, Skaggs,
Yes.
Salfeld,
Yes.
Ponstein,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Melton,
Yes.
Coleman,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Hennessy,
Yes.
Bulkowski,
Yes.
Breve,
Yes.
Antor, Chair Bolter.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 17 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. Resolution 912-1979 is adopted.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We're through resolutions. On to item 9, our public comment related to general county matters. Do we have anyone here for public comment today? Please come up and state your name and address. You have 3 minutes each. Good morning.
My name's Karen Myers, and I live in Kent County. Kent County's contract with ICE will not be renewed, thanks to the voices and direct actions of the immigrant community and its allies. We came here to meeting after meeting over the last year, and were told by commissioners that there was nothing you could do about the contract. But now the contract is ending, and that is due to the people. The community did what its representatives failed to do. But the end of the contract is just one small step in ending Kent County's complicity with ICE. The sheriff has stated, quote, that the Kent County Sheriff's Office will continue to work collaboratively with ICE, as we do with all law enforcement agencies, to ensure public safety, due process, and the rule of law for all people in Kent County. In other words, the Kent County Sheriff's Office will continue to collaborate with an agency responsible for the deaths of 31 people, including at least 7 children, this year alone. Thousands of cases of sexual abuse, the traumatic separation of children from their parents. This is the agency that the sheriff in Kent County will continue to work collaboratively with to ensure public safety. Whose public safety? Not that of the families that ICE separates at the border and right here in Grand Rapids. This is violence to the people taken, to their families, to their communities, to all of us. Just a week ago, an undocumented immigrant was shot by ICE agents in Nashville. The man's crime was not having papers, a civil infraction, but ICE shot at and wounded him as he tried to flee. How long before ICE officers are shooting at people on the streets of Grand Rapids? Is this the point at which the County Commission and Sheriff's Department will finally take action? Earlier this year, the sheriff said that the jail would no longer hold people for ICE without a judicial warrant. But that has not stopped ICE from coming to the jail when people are being released and seizing them right there, sometimes before the person has even been processed from the jail. This is done with the full cooperation of the Kent County Jail. We know that this has even occurred right in front of family members who have come to the jail to be reunited with a loved one. The harm that ICE does to our community will not end until the county and the sheriff fully end their complicity with ICE. Telling us that the law compels you to cooperate with ICE's actions is simply not good enough. The immigrant community doesn't have time to wait for you to do the right thing. Until that happens, we are here as a community in support of our immigrant friends and community members, and we want to remind them that when they are targeted by ICE violence that is enabled by Kent County, they can call GR Rapid Response to ICE at 616-238-0081 for support.
Thank you. Any other public comment today? Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Amy Carpenter. I live on Anishinaabe land and also in what's so-called Kent County. As Karen has just talked about, we're here to address that Kent County is still collaborating with ICE. And I want to be really clear on the kind of agency, the kind of rogue agency we often say that you're collaborating with. There's evidence that there have been over 33,000 complaints filed against ICE over the last 7 years, alleging a wide range of abuses in immigration detention. These included sexual abuse. Complying with the demand could get an immigrant released, but they could be deported and sometimes to the wrong country of origin if they didn't. This is who the Kent County Jail is working with, collaborating with, in the sheriff's own words. The ACLU has obtained over 30,000 pages of documented abuses of immigrant children in ICE custody. ICE officers have punched a child's head 3 times and kicked a child in the ribs. They used a stun gun on a boy, causing him to fall to the ground, shaking with his eyes rolling back in his head. They subjected a 16-year-old girl to a search that ended in a sexual assault that I cannot describe here because it's too graphic. They've done other things such as calling children dogs, threatening them with sexual assault by other inmates, running over a teen with a patrol vehicle, and refusing to let children stand up for days and more. So though people here in this circle have celebrated the end of the contract, as Karen said, that work was done by the community. We were often criticized for trying to reduce harm to the community. The Kent County Sheriff and the Kent County Commission, with their influence over the sheriff's budget, needs to continue to work for no complicity with ICE, who terrorize our immigrant neighbors. We have heard from neighbors at Rapid Response to ICE, which Karen mentioned. We have heard from neighbors who have paid the bail, gone to Kent County Jail, seen their person come through the window like they were about to come out and then turn back. And it's because ICE was behind the doors to get them, because Kent County was collaborating with them. And this person spent days in detention away from their young children before they could be bonded out. And the bonds are very, very high.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments today? Good morning.
My name is J.R. Martin. I live in Grand Rapids on Anishinaabe land. And I'm also here again today to demand an immediate end to all cooperation and collaboration between Kent County and ICE. So the formal contract between ICE and the county has ended. This was a victory for immigrants and community groups, as Amy and Karen said. But we know that ICE is still taking our neighbors from the jail with the county's cooperation. And as Karen said, even the end of the contract came in so many ways not because of Kent County's actions, but in spite of them. After the announcement in January that the jail would no longer hold immigrants for ICE on administrative warrants, which, as the sheriff herself admitted, was nothing but the most basic recognition of due process, after that announcement, it was ICE that chose not to renew the contract. So over a long period, in the weeks and months since June of last year, this body, the Kent County Commission, had a chance to make a proactive, ethical decision or statement in favor of the safety of the immigrants who live here and against collaboration with an agency whose fascism was and is more obvious every day. And that opportunity came and went. But there's another window that's still open, since ICE disdainfully calls this a sanctuary county anyway, which it isn't. Kent County can set an example by actively refusing all complicity with ICE. The county has nothing to lose by doing this and everything to gain when it comes to the well-being and safety of those who live here. People in this room may have seen a story published yesterday in Newsweek with the headline, "ICE fails to properly redact document, reveals location of future urban warfare training facility." So it's no exaggeration, it's no hyperbole to say that ICE means war. That's their language. And all too often, they come close to saying openly what we know from their actions, which is that this is a white supremacist war against communities of color who are trying to live their lives in peace. And it's long past time for this county to make it clear which side it's on. Regardless of the county's actions or lack thereof, I want to echo the reminder that anybody in the area who sees ICE activity or is threatened by ICE agents can contact GR Rapid Response to ICE at 616-238-0081.
Any other public comment today? Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Richard Kessler. I'm an immigration attorney. I have an office on 4145 Kalamazoo Southeast in Grand Rapids. Now, I'd like to follow up and try to be a little bit more specific in terms of what I believe that the County Commission and the Sheriff can and should be doing in terms of ICE cooperation. Again, as everyone knows, there was a policy change that we appreciate in January of this year, which was caused both, as people mentioned, by community activists and immigrant activists, and also because of a very specific incident of a young man, a Marine who was a U.S. citizen, who was held and released by the county to ICE custody and detained for several days, even though it was obvious he was a U.S. citizen. So that's what it took to wake up the county in terms of the detention situation and ending honoring these, which many courts had called illegal and unconstitutional detention contracts. What has happened since then, and this is what I want to elaborate on and bring to the Commission's attention, it was elaborated by the previous speakers, is that what the policy now of Kent County, and I believe it's the general operating procedure at the jail, and the sheriff's here, she can correct me if that's not the case, is that if they receive an advisal from Immigration Customs Enforcement, which is a relatively new agency, by the way, that was developed just simply after, in response to 9/11, and many people have criticized its necessity today. That's a separate issue. But what happens is that the Sheriff's Department will specifically advise ICE. They'll call their office over here in Ottawa, about 1.5 miles from the jail, and say, so-and-so that you sent a detainer on is going to be released. We're not going to hold them, or the policy that ICE already knows that we will not hold them any longer, but basically you can come and get them. And the sheriff's office knows that there's a policy that takes approximately an hour, sometimes a little bit more, for people to be released. So it gives ICE the opportunity to come and pick up the people within an hour. And we've seen it very specifically. I had a case on May 2nd of this year, a woman who has 4 U.S. citizen children. She had been arrested only because she was driving on an expired license, because she can't renew her license, which is a whole separate issue. And when her family went to pay her bond, ICE was called. They were waiting for her, as the other people mentioned, to be released, and ICE was brought right in through the front door, brought and given access and saying, here, take her away, and she was taken away. This is not the only, and she was held in ICE for 2 months. Fortunately, she was released and is back with her family. But this is the type of situation that's happening. This policy has to be revisited. It is not, there is no legal requirement that ICE has to advise, the county has to advise ICE, and we ask you to specifically stand on the side of immigrants here and tell the sheriff to no longer contact ICE in these situations. And I'd be available later on to talk more about these specifics.
Any other public comment today? All right, seeing none, we are moving on to item 10, Commissioner Reports. Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Chair. I have 2 reports that happened from the last board meeting to this one. First, I wanted to thank our fellow commissioners who took the time to attend the supervisors meeting that we had as a result of the strategic planning input. It's really exciting to see the fact we put all this time, effort, and energy into a strategic plan, and now, other than the pieces of paper, we're actually acting on it and executing those visions, including improved communications. So we had the supervisors and we had village managers. I'm regularly the supervisors meeting attendee from the commission. I'm trying to fill Roger Morgan's shoes. My feet aren't as big as his, but I'm doing the best I can. And I thought it was a very well-attended and good event, and thank you, Mr. Britt, for your time and comments there as well. And then I wanted to mention that Experience Grand Rapids this week, for their staff and board members, had a cultural competency training. They had a number of speakers, including Angela Nelson, who is their Vice President of Multicultural Business Development. They had Rich Jones from Disability Advocates. They had Larry DeShane Jr. from Grand Rapids Pride. And they had Scott Welch, who is from Global Bridge Builders. And I thought it was a very informative educational session, and I'm glad that they hosted that for a number of hours. So if you'd like more information on that, I'm sure Angela Nelson would be more than happy to share those materials with anyone. Thank you.
Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I better press my button here.
I'd like to report on the airport. We said hello to Torrey Richardson. He started September 1st. He comes to us from Columbus, Ohio. He has extensive experience in airport operations, and we really look forward to having him on board. The airport is up 11% year over year. We continue to grow. If you haven't been out the airport, please come out. We're doing the front door renovation now, and we're trying to get rid of these big bulky screeners behind the ticket counters, and we're actually going to have a restroom up by the baggage claim, and so we're doing the front door of the airport now, and along with the concrete around the apron to accommodate 9 more gates. So totally, I think we have about $90 million worth of infrastructure going on at the airport. Thank you for letting me be part of that. I appreciate it. And talking about shoes and stuff, Commissioner Hennessy, I said the only thing big on me is my forehead. So other than that, thanks.
Commissioner Steck.
Thank you, Chair Bolter. First, Commissioner Morgan, I have used your high-cost parking lot 6 times this year, so I want you to acknowledge that.
We're well under the market, sir.
All right, so otherwise, a couple of reports. First of all, at Network 180, we too have been blessed to welcome our new executive director, Mr. William Ward, who started on September 1 as well with the Community Mental Health Agency. We're looking forward to his expertise and his skills and ability to take a challenging environment forward and help us bring some stability and continuity to all of that. With respect to the Lakeshore Regional Entity, I will keep it very short and brief. That issue continues to move forward, unfortunately, in a quasi-legal environment, with formal proceedings now being initiated with the administrative law judge to determine whether or not the failure or inability of the LRE to cover its operating costs to pay for all the services we must provide is due to underfunding by the state or something else. And so that process will continue over the course of October, probably into November. It may well be the end of the year before the legal proceedings have wrapped up, at least in the first stage. In the meantime, the intention of both the LRE and the state is to continue business, not entirely as usual, but continue the structure that is in place. I will also say that we have been advised by the state that there will be, lo and behold, a substantial increase in the rates and revenues paid to the LRE based upon the actuarial analysis of the cost of services. A conversation we had been having with them for some time. But it is a blessing to at least see that this year, starting with the fiscal year of 2020, there will be a notable increase of money coming into that system. And if you have more questions about that, please feel free to check with me. I'd be happy to answer that because there's an awful lot going on behind the scene there. And then finally, some of you are tracking the Crisis Center Task Force work that has been ongoing with the idea of identifying and now building into reality a new crisis center within our community that will address some of the urgent needs for the behavioral health crises that folks face in this community. We have moved forward with the county's retention, hopefully, of a consultant who will be responsible for taking the plans and the ideas and the concepts that the task force committee has worked out and moving that into reality. It won't happen overnight, but this is a critical, important step to move forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Steck, for all your work. Commissioner Talon?
Thank you, Chair. The Grand Rapids DDA met yesterday for an unusually short session, and the primary topic was consideration of funding a consultant to look at how to manage the public assets along the restored river. So that was approved. Hopefully they'll come up with an organizational framework for that within the next 6 months. So looking forward to that work.
Great. Commissioner Voorhees?
Thank you, Chair Bolter. I would like to state compliments and thanks to Vice Chair Stan Steck, who came out early this past Monday morning to Wyoming City Hall to speak with the Kentwood, Wyoming Chamber of Commerce Government Matters meeting on this issue of the LRE. It's been a concern amongst the business community and many others about what's happening with mental health care, and so appreciate Commissioner Steck, your work in that and your availability to explain what's going on, and thank you for your work and for your accomplishments. Thank you.
Any other commissioner reports today? All right, seeing none, we're on to miscellaneous. Commissioner Miscellaneous. Commissioner Ponstein?
Thank you, Chair Bolter. Just a couple things. This past week, or maybe even this week, I lose track of time, there's talk of putting a bus line from Grand Rapids out to Zeeland for people that work in the furniture and office furniture business, which I think it's a good idea. It's been talked about for a couple years now. The only concern I have is county-wise, we've got a strategic plan. We've got a rural city report that was out. A lot of this is going to be funded up front by grants to see if it can or will work. My concern is at the end of the presentation and even the comments that have been printed is that what do we do after the grants run out? And I just want to make sure, because this is going to run through 2 counties, multiple cities, townships. I just want to make sure we're at the table so when it comes that, yep, we need a millage or we need money, that we're at the table on this and not just the 2 cities or the 3 cities actually in Kent County that will use the line, and then our neighboring county, Ottawa, and the cities that are part of this. So I just want to make people aware of it. I think it's a great idea to run down that corridor, but I also know that the Rapid, I don't think, has ever seen a line that it didn't like once it got started, and certainly loves to find ways to pay for those. So I just want to make sure we're at the table. I wanted to make people to be aware of that. I'm sure in the coming months there'll be more on that issue. The other thing I want to add too is that at the end of our meeting prior to this, Commissioner Bukowski asked for more time, more lengthy discussion, and I agree with that 100%. The one area that did came up, and I think it's an area that we need to talk about, is that we've got a limit to what we can bond. And there are a lot of things that are coming up that everyone could make a case that it's needed and it's something we should do for the county. What I would like to know, and maybe we can look up, is what is the criteria of putting these things into priority? I don't want to see us pitting one entity against the other. I want it kind of in a structured educational look at what our priorities are going to be and how are we going to use what's left that we can bond without affecting our credit rating, and what's the best way of going forward. And then I'll end it on a third thing and on some positive notes. A few years ago, I made the comment about our kill rate at the animal shelter, and I had a couple commissioners tell me that it was out of line, and I basically was just quoting what the number was. And 3-4 years ago, I think we had a live release rate of about 29%. I just heard on the news media and print that our live release rate at that animal shelter now is around 80%, and that's remarkable in the short time period of where we are at and where we are at today. And there's a lot of people to thank. We've had our struggles at the animal shelter, but I want to thank the staff there for everything they do to do that. But more importantly, the leader at the top is, I think, the one that deserves the most credit. People look up to him. I think people around, and he's always looking for new and better ways, not just to do things at the animal shelter, but through our whole health department. So I just want to recognize today Adam London for all of his hard work. The way he presents himself and Kent County to the public is just outstanding. And I know we've got a lot of staff, and I can be up here all day thanking everyone, but that's something that's been in the news recently, and I just want to show my appreciation to Adam and all the staff at the health department.
Great. You took one of mine. Commissioner Melton.
Thank you, thank you, Chair. First, as I'm sitting over here, I need my earmuffs on and a thing on my nose.
Did you want my jacket?
Well, yeah, I asked you for it earlier. Could we maybe pay our heating
Trying to
bills,
keep it
please?
quick. We're trying to keep it quick.
It's I'm too cold. My teeth are chattering.
The city of Grand Rapids controls that.
Anyway, I received a call, as I understand that so did Commissioner Morgan, and I believe Commissioner Anter, and maybe Commissioner Voorhees from Bob Becker. He's the past commander of the Honor Guard service here in Kent County. They help with over 1,000 military funerals a year. It was not the help part, but that number that really hit me. They are hoping to name October 2nd, which is their fundraising day, the Kent County Honor Guard Day. I have mentioned that, but I did tell them that I would bring that up in miscellaneous. I cannot, on October 2nd, they will be at Graceland, am I right? I forget which cemetery they said, and I should know that. Anyway, that is their fundraising day, so I am mentioning that. I personally am just wondering if there's any chance, having been at the Parks dinner last night that ended with quite a exciting ending. I went home, maybe I'm still cold from last night, quite wet. But just to reach out, a thank you to the workers who were there, and I realized that we're not the ones that coordinated the dinner, but they were young, many of them, and here the sirens are going off, and I am certain that the confusion, and yet they were there picking up things off the ground and things here and things there, and I just really, really, really would love I plan to do it myself, but for them to realize that we as a county do appreciate that, yes, they weren't the attendees, but they were certainly the ones that did the work so that we could get out of there early and be safe. So last is Saturday is the food trucks in Kentwood, over 30 of them. So if you're really hungry and want a variety of things to eat, come to Kentwood. It's our end of Summerfest, and you are certainly welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Melton. Commissioner Breivy.
Thank you, Chair Bolter. I just wanted to thank staff and those who put together the township supervisor meeting. I thought it was, a great conversation, and I think it's leading to more conversations and openness between us and our other community leaders. So I look forward to another one, maybe next summer or spring down the road. So thanks for that.
Commissioner Bukowski.
Thank you, Chair. Just to echo agreeance sorry, Commissioner Ponstein. But yeah, that making sure that the county's at the table and we're talking about mobility would be awesome. As another historical note, most of us have forgotten, except for me, that there was a a service called County Connections, which was countywide. It was supported by a Job Access Reverse Commute, or JARC, grant from the feds. And when the Fed money ended, the service ended. So there are cool things happening, things like Wheels to Work that's being provided by Hope Network, funded by employers and employees. So there are creative ways to provide mobility in addition to things that are supported by taxpayer dollars as well. So, but again, within all that, the county needing to be at the table. And unless other people are going to do it, since Commissioner Antor's not here, 2 Sundays from now, the 22nd, is the annual Freedom Cruise. And the shameless plug is that there'll be a great resource fair for veterans there, at which there will be a table for disability advocates and many, many others.
Great, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to thank Adam London. When commissioners get communication from our constituents with questions, problems, and challenges, and we can approach our staff, and then the staff very promptly addresses the situation and resolves it. I had one of those this week, so thank you, Adam, for running with that. And I appreciate that actually at all the staff levels. And I just figured this was a great example of how we can help, as commissioners, bridge that communication gap where people in our community know us but might not know in the county system where to head for the solution. But we do, and the solution was found, so thank you very much, Adam.
Great. Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I first want to thank Commissioner Melton for her remarks during invocation today, both hoping for a speedy recovery of our absent commissioner, given the medical needs attended to this week, as well as the remarks regarding the 18th anniversary. That day is always going to be a rough one for me. I grew up 2 miles away from Ground Zero, and I was thinking yesterday where I was 18 years ago when my school was being evacuated, and seeing people that were loved ones and neighbors in that same sense of fear that I experienced. But moreover, I remember a week later, a candlelit vigil convened by the interfaith leaders, including my own father, of Jews, Muslims, Christians, and folks of all faiths, praying together across the East River, looking at Ground Zero. And so I'm very appreciative for her remarks. In light of some of the comments we received during public comment today, I was wondering if it would be appropriate to have a smaller special order of business to get an interim report from the immigration work group that was assembled earlier this year, whether that report be provided from staff, commissioners, a joint report. I think that would be appropriate. And at least what I will say is when I saw the communication from the sheriff about the ending of the contract and the statistics that were shared, one thing that came to my mind was, if this is in fact the most limited legal relationship we can have, which I believe is the appropriate route to take given the incident that happened in January and the incidents we're seeing across this country, it might be appropriate to have a larger regional discussion with our different law enforcement agencies, renewing the conversation about broadly working around appearance tickets. We've talked about this before, both from a financial savings perspective, that if fewer people are going to our jail that are not violent offenders, the more it's going to save the taxpayers. From a criminal justice reform point of view, that if fewer people are getting into our criminal justice system, there's a lower likelihood of recidivism. And the way I see it is, if this is just another piece of evidence that that's a conversation I think we should renew. Not necessarily as the sole law enforcement agency, but bringing in the other law enforcement agencies that do send people to our jail. And we'll just hope that that conversation could happen in the coming weeks.
Great.
Thank you.
Commissioner Womack.
Yes, as Commissioner Wood, and I also spent a lot of time in New York, 17 years living in New York, and I visited the World Trade Center many, many times. I was highly impacted, as most Americans were, watching those towers fall. So here on the anniversary of 9/11, I just want to say law enforcement is just a thankless job. And we have so many officers, first response teams that lost their lives in 9/11. So and Americans, and also when you live in New York, you know there's a lot of people that fly into New York from all over the world who lost their lives that day. People that come in and spend money with American companies and create job opportunities here. But our American citizens, police officers, firemen, paramedics of all different races, ethnicity. New York is the true melting pot of diversity. So I just really wanted to take the day to, thank law enforcement and all our first response teams that continue to risk their lives daily for Americans, and a special thanks to Sheriff Michelle Young and to Grand Rapids Police Chief Eric Payne and all of the other police chiefs in the 6 cities and our 22 townships for your service.
Thank you. Commissioner Steck.
Thank you, Chair Bolter. I just wanted to add one more comment of thanks, and that is to Chair Bolter for also reaching out to the mayors of the 6 cities in this county to affirmatively push the open conversation and dialogue with our other public entities. And I think that's a critical thing to do. I have had some positive feedback from my mayor with respect to that conversation. I think it's been very effective, and I look forward to continuing that.
Thank you. Commissioner Voorhees.
I'll just be quick. There's a group working to bring arena football back to Grand Rapids. We've been 14 years without it. And so we're working through Grand Angel and looking for support and sponsorship in that. And so we'd like to see arena football back in Grand Rapids and West Michigan. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Talon.
Thank you, Chair. Just want to remind my colleagues that the Governor's Jail and Pretrial Task Force is holding its next public meeting in Grand Rapids at GRCC next Friday. A morning session, that's a work session for the task force, and the afternoon is basically a public hearing for input, feedback on how we can do our jails and our pretrial system better, including things like Commissioner Wooden brought up earlier. So if you'd like more information, please see me after. Thanks.
Any other commissioner miscellaneous today? As always, I have a couple. I want to thank everyone at the Parks Foundation for making sure we all lived yesterday. It was a great event. The executive director, Sam Moore, did an awesome job, but again, to echo Commissioner Melton, the staff was amazing. I mean, they're holding down tablecloths, they're grabbing glasses. It wasn't Dorian, but it was a little crazy. So, did want to acknowledge the Parks Foundation for that. Regarding our work session today, I know it was brief. We're really trying to balance not hauling everyone in every single week for work sessions, and also budget work sessions, and also trying to just find time that most people are available. So I totally appreciate that it was quick, and I know if we could have half a day, that would be great, but we will continue the conversation and we'll continue to work through that. And again, no decisions are being made. This is preliminary information that I want to just keep making sure you all are getting, and it's all in front of us for our continued consideration. And then lastly, I want to just really thank the county staff. I feel like I've really been pushing on a lot of things. I know our board has been pushing on a lot of things. We all have various priorities, and the county staff, I mean, this week alone, we hosted the supervisors. Lori had to help build a fire because there was no heat. She's handing out, Pam is furiously handing out documents, and then we transitioned right into this work session today, which was a lot of work on behalf of Matthew and Al and Wayman and Steve. So I just want to really acknowledge the staff and thank you for all your hard work. And I know that we've been fairly high maintenance, but I just want to thank you for that. So with that, I would ask for Commissioner Melton a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn, subject to the call of the chair, to September 26th, 2019.
Support. Moved by Commissioner Melton, support by Commissioner Jones. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, we are adjourned.
I am Kent County.
I am Kent County.
I am Kent County.
We are 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 Kent County.
Beya, Kent County. Ami, Kent County.
Somos Kent County.
Mas Ira, Kent County.
We are Kent County.
We are Kent County. We are Kent County. Oh, yeah.